This is the Son of the Law podcast. Hey everyone, welcome. Welcome to the Son of the Law podcast. I'm your host, Jay Christopher. And joining me in the studio today, we have Stuart Olinger. Hey, Stuart.
Good afternoon.
So I'm really interested in y'all getting to know Stuart today. We have a very storied history together and met Stuart a long time ago. When would you say we met?
I would say that Powell and Nolan, our sons, were 5 or 6.
Yeah, we have to say it was soccer, and then and we ultimately coached baseball.
Yeah, so probably before they were in school or just as kindergartners.
Yeah, and
so at least 10 or actually probably 13 years ago.
Yeah, and as of the date of this recording, our boys are now seniors in high school. And, while they've moved on to bigger and better things, me and Stuart are just peas and carrots.
Yes.
So, and I've got these things. And, if you've listened a bit, the people I'm interviewing right now, I have really high respect for. Nothing's changed here. You and I would like to say, are kind of like shake and bake, complementary style friends.
Yes.
I tend to be the high strung one, and you tend to be the mellow one. Although I think inside you're probably more high strung than I am, but that's maybe between you, me, and the fence post.
It's just a facade,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you calm me down, right? You kind of got this quiet conqueror vibe about you. I have a little bit of a bromance going, as you know. And as I've talked with, and the ladies are going to love this, and you'll be able to hear it when you talk more, but Stuart is like Rip off of Yellowstone. Bro, that's you.
No.
Yeah, it is. You got that hat. You got that hat and everything like that. I can tell that's you.
Maybe one of these days.
Also, I would just say too, Stuart's my hero. And I know he asked me to leave this out, but I'm not doing it. I'm doing it. He's triathlete, Ironman finisher. He's tough as boot leather. Like, I mean, you are no complaints, no quit. Anyway, one of the strongest, toughest people I know. Super cool.
Thank you.
And then I don't think it's right.
And you are as well. So
bull crap.
Yeah.
Bull crap.
You are. No,
I'm a hood ornament. Credit. I'm a hood ornament. Yeah. I nicknamed Stewardess a long time ago.
Now, can you take credit for that? Because Mariana has called me that every time I've seen her.
That's true. Here's where I think I take credit for it, and then she got it from me, but maybe she said it. Maybe she said it first. So I was like worried when the first time I called you that, because you're a big deal, and I didn't know it at the time, but you meet these people sometimes and you're like, this guy is really cool. And I'm going to test the fences now with a nickname. And so I'm going to call him Stewardess. And if I don't get punched in the face, this could go for a while. Like, we could be good friends. But if I get punched in the face, then probably not.
You know what's off.
Yeah, and I didn't get punched in the face. So it was like, from here on out, it was like me and Stewardess, shake and bake.
Mm-hmm. That's what we are.
Yeah. So also, I appreciate about you, very thinker, logical. And despite the fact that you hate what I'm doing to you right now, I appreciate having you on the show.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, me too.
In your home.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as many of you know, and you can tell, Stu and I have a good relationship. He's the type of dude where we can not talk for weeks and then pick right back up where we left off and jump even into like deep philosophical conversations. A lot of times on the way home from work,
Yes.
or we'll talk about time that we've spent together in the boat today. But there's just been, it's just been a really great relationship. So let's you're gonna say something?
Mm-mm.
Let's just start by you maybe telling us a little bit about yourself and maybe where you're born, raised, family life, ties to Lawson.
Yeah. So I was, my dad was a bit of a gypsy. And so I was born in South Dakota. My family is all from Missouri, northern Missouri, Brookfield. We moved to Brookfield, and then we moved to be around family, and then we moved out to Montana to be with some other family out there. So we spent 11 or 12 years out there, moved back to, which that was a great way to grow up in the late 70s, early 80s in Montana, and just be a free range kid and hunt when you wanted to and all that. So it was a great place to be.
So are you saying that
Fond memories.
Are you saying that the Rip Wheeler character was actually modeled off of you?
It could have been. I don't know.
I think so.
I grew up near the Beartooth Ranch and hunted on it all the time. So it's
how about that?
There's some parallels, I suppose, as far as location goes. But yeah, and then we moved back down to Brookfield, Missouri, where I went to high school and graduated from high school, and then a couple stints in college, and then some National Guard work, and ended up in Kansas City and worked as a carpenter, and then after a few years, met my wife, Amy, and looking for the best place to settle down with her. Trick her, with a little bit of scenery on the way. Drove through Lawson and met Susie Vinson, and have still maintained a good relationship with her. And she's so motherly right off the bat that I just knew this was the place. And
about that?
Good school, and I just knew it was the place. So we've been here over 20 years now. So
that's crazy.
Here we are.
Yeah. So, how might people know you around town?
Just I'm always around. I think I feel like I'm always around, and I tease my wife that I'm at sporting events. I'm always the guy with the loud lady. If you want to know where I'm at, I'm the guy sitting next to the lady who cheers the loudest. So
there's one in every relationship.
Yeah, she's the vocal one.
Yeah. Carissa is the vocal one in our relationship too. And I was there for a while when I was like we watched the girls play volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
I like to line judge because I can be down on the court and I get to listen to all of the coaches talking to the kids, the girls going back and forth talking and whatnot. And I can be loving life watching my kid play in my happy place because I don't get to yell down there. And when I'm in the stands, I kind of feel sometimes like a bad parent because I'm like not like really rooting on my kid because that's just not my thing. They all know we talk afterwards. They know I love them. I'm there to watch them and whatnot. But
I'm focusing on later for afterwards to talk to them. And if I'm running my mouth the whole time, I'm not going to be able to absorb what's going on and talk later. So.
Right. Yeah, but that's why we have these lovely, encouraging wives. They motivate the kids on the court that way, and then we motivate them.
And that's their babies out there.
That's
so
right.
They're going to be that way.
So good.
So yeah, that's how you know me.
All right. Well, let's do some rapid fire questions. If you were arrested with no explanation, what would your friends assume that you did?
Probably correcting someone's bad behavior.
Giving somebody an attitude adjustment?
Possibly.
A little tune up?
Yeah. I don't know what else. I try to stay on the right side.
Oh, that's awesome. What would you what's something you've never tried but really want to just to say you've done it?
A podcast.
Mission accomplished. Huh? I was going to say there's a follow-up question to this question. It's like, okay, so you say you want to do it. When are we going to go do it?
Yeah.
We're doing it now.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. All right. What's the most ridiculous thing you've ever convinced someone to believe?
Probably quite a bit of things, but one that comes to mind, I had an intern with me on one of our job sites, and her name was Haley, and she was she's just a real small frame, small person that doesn't belong physically on a construction site. So for some street cred, I convinced everybody that her middle name was Wayne. And so for the rest of the job, there was a lot of guys that actually believed her
Haley
name was
Wayne.
Haley Wayne. And so they really believed it. And we also started a rumor that she was Amish and made her own clothes, and they started to believe that too.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
Nothing
that's
like
the
a
one
little,
that comes to mind.
like a playful workplace hazing. It's
It's
just good for
exactly
you.
what it was.
Oh, it's
Yes.
so good for you.
She was great about it. She was awesome.
That's
So,
awesome. All right. If your life was a movie, what would the title be? And actually, let me rephrase. If your life was a movie, who would play you? Like who would if there was like a biographical movie shot about you, who would play you? Would it be the Rip Wheeler actor?
might as well be. I mean, because I think he has red hair in real life, and they
That's
dye
right.
it black.
Yeah,
I think I read that.
yeah, and for those, I'll put. Yeah, you're a ruddy fella.
I think that he has a beard. I have a beard. Why
Yeah,
not?
handsome.
I don't know about that.
Get this man a sling and a stone. Handsome, ruddy, David like.
I don't know.
Oh, so good. Okay. Mention Stuart is a triathlete, and you've been doing that now for how long?
About 4 or 5 years.
Right. But then you started kind of this health journey, right?
Yeah.
10, 12 years ago?
Probably not that far.
Not that far ago?
Kind of off and on.
Yeah.
Throughout life, and then I got serious about it about six or 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Probably.
I just remember it was so funny. It's funny now, right? Thinking through it, right? You got serious about it, lost a little weight, got muscly and strong, and you don't see your friends every day and whatnot, right? You kind of see them here and there. Carissa saw you at like a baseball game or something, and she's like, "Did you get a haircut, Stuart?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, he got a haircut and lost 40 pounds, turned himself into a brick crap house."
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I remember that. That was funny.
So good. Okay, so just questions around your triathlon training. Swim, bike, run. What's your favorite discipline?
Getting out of the water and knowing that I didn't drown. Yeah.
So is running or biking then your favorite?
It just depends. During the races, the biking is good, but it's really long and gets boring.
Yeah.
And just to maintain what you want to do, the pace and the heart rate for that amount of time, it's more mentally taxing than anything. So, and for some reason, I'm not built like a runner, but I do enjoy running because it's just it's like there's no small talk. It's you're just getting right to work.
Just get to it.
Yeah, and there's just all meat, no fat.
Yeah, that reminds me, or I say that seems right. Just how I've gotten to know you. You're all about kind of, I don't call it glutton for punishment, but I don't know, you feel the most accomplished. That's been my observation when you're really trying yourself physically like that.
Suffering.
Yeah.
Suffering is good.
It is.
It's good for you.
Yeah. The line between pain and pleasure in that sense is really gray.
I think a lot of runners, especially that run long distances, that run multiple marathons and things like that, they get more pleasure out of, more suffering when they're done. The dopamine, it just, you get way more from more suffering.
Like a runner's high? Would you call that a runner's high? Or is that just a feeling of accomplishment?
I don't really know what a runner's high is. I'm not a good enough runner. So I don't know if that's during the race or after the race, but the feeling of the accomplishment and the more suffering you do, the more accomplished you feel.
Yeah. Great satisfaction.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that understand that.
Yeah. Brilliant. So last question. What is the one piece of gear you can't live without?
Well, during training, the one piece of gear I can't live without is music.
Oh, okay.
I
thought it was going to be a watch.
Well, that too. I don't really. I used to really enjoy the data and look at the data a lot. Look at the numbers a lot. I was fascinated by it.
Like what data? Strides per minute, heart rate,
all of it. That's on Garmin Connect. That's what I use. So I used to really enjoy watching your resting heart rate go down, the better shape that you got in, and so on and so forth. So, but I don't pay that much attention to that stuff anymore. It's just to be out and doing it is the way
right on
that I like doing. Goggles, you can't swim
without
without
can't
goggles.
Swim without goggles.
That's a must.
That's a must. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you listening to?
Depends on the mood that I'm in prior to. If I'm tired and not feeling it, I'll listen to, I'm kind of an old school metal guy. Or around the 2000s, 2010 metal type of stuff, or something with a good beat. But if I'm in a good mood, or if it's a great fall day and I'm on my bike, I'll listen to some easier listening, Pink Floyd, easy listening stuff.
Just logging miles.
Yeah, just absolutely. Allman Brothers.
Driving music.
Yeah.
That's
Things
awesome.
like that, just slow moving rock.
Right on. All right, let's jump into our topic here. The main purpose of this episode is to talk about the Missouri River 340. And I want to sort of open this up because there are a number of people in our audience who've never heard of it, and other people just got really excited because they've heard about this race and they want to do it, or they have some aspirations of maybe trying to do it. And so we're going to just open it up a little bit. I pulled this off the interwebs, trying to just find a simple way of explaining it. So here's what they say. The MR340 is a famous endurance race held annually on the Missouri River in the United States. It is a 340-mile-long kayak and canoe race that challenges paddlers to navigate the entire length of the river from Kansas City to St. Charles, Missouri. The race typically spans 3 to 5 days, and participants must contend with unpredictable river currents, changing weather conditions, and the mental and physical demands of paddling for hours each day. That sound about right?
Sums it up. Barges.
Yeah. And barges. Heat, which is the weather. Distance 340 miles. And let's take this just one at a time. 340 miles is a long race.
It is. And it is not straight either.
No. So you think, compared to maybe some of the competitive running races that you've done between 5K, 10K, half marathon, where would the MR340 kind of fit in the comparative ranks of competitive running and or the triathlon world?
It would be...
would it be so far as an ultra? Would you call it an ultra?
In some ways it would be, absolutely. I mean, physically, probably not as much, but definitely I think about recovery. And so after I got some sleep on the MR340, I was a little bit sore, but I recovered fairly quickly.
So it's mentally tough.
It is. And
Okay.
it's fairly, the recovery is fairly intense. I mean, that first day is pretty tough
Yeah.
afterwards, but then after that, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Duration, most participants complete the race in 3 to 5 days, although some attempts finish faster. I wrote this down. The fastest competitive racers are finishing in 35 to 40 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Sub 40, sub 50, sub 60, and 70-hour medals. Like people shoot for kind of their personal best,
Yes.
trying to hit those 10-hour increments. And then other people are just trying to finish the sucker.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's survival.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And race is open to both solo and team participants. And there's several different divisions. There's solos, tandem teams, stand-up paddlers.
Yeah.
Which those guys are
Psycho.
unique. Yeah, particular type of crazy. Dragon boats. And some take it really seriously.
Oh yeah. There's people who race all year long, and it's more than just something to get out and do and challenge yourself. It's serious, and they're racing for podium.
Yeah. And some people don't take it seriously enough.
No, some people don't make it to Lexington.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Lexington being what? What is Lexington?
58 miles. Is that something like that?
Yeah. That's the first checkpoint? No, that's not even a checkpoint.
It's not even a checkpoint.
That's just a paddle stop, isn't
Mm-hmm.
it? Yep. Okay. We talked about various challenges they have to face. Historical significance. The race is named after the Missouri River, which is the longest river in North America. The race itself has become a popular test of endurance for serious paddlers. All I wrote there is, yep.
Yeah.
That's about right. And then while the race is a solo and or team event, participants often have support crews who help with food, hydration, and rest stops along the way.
Yes.
So it's possible to go unsupported, I think is the way they use it, but highly recommended. And we had a fantastic ground crew in our lovely wives,
Yes.
Amy and Carissa.
They were great. Just seeing their smiles.
Right? After you got to deal with all my crap in the boat for a while.
Just, and all the dirty people around you, seeing their lovely faces was
right?
Awesome.
Right? Okay, so that's a little bit of an overview of the MR340, kind of what it is. Typically, it's held at the full moon in the last part of July, first week of August, somewhere in there. They try to do it because you'll paddle a lot at night. And Stuart and I have done it. And we did it as a team. And so we're going to just talk through our story today. I'm going to be more or less interviewing Stuart and then offering my commentary just to, help move things along. But we tried it in 2023. Yes. However, flooding caused the race to close early. And you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was our first go. So we trained, we thought we were ready, and I think we were, but weather was not cooperating. Headed out from Caw Point, Kansas City, Kansas, and I think the minute we nosed into the Missouri River, we had a headwind.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've ever been on a river in a canoe with a headwind. Your body acts just like a sail, and it's just a struggle to go forward. And it was a struggle from that word go.
Yep.
Everybody made it to Lexington really late, and it took a lot longer than it had in years past, like 4 hours longer, I think is what it was. So it was on average. So it was killing everybody's time. And we got to seeing that. Started watching the radar and the weather forecasts, and they were talking about rain, and we plugged along, and we made it to Miami we made it to Waverly pretty late,
5, 6,
and then it was and then shoved off again. A lot of people were really starting to talk about what the weather was going to be like, and everybody was probably shooting just to get to Miami. I think what the word on the river was. And we get to Miami. We didn't even cross the channel. We just kept going. Um, probably more brawn than sense
Then
at the
brains.
time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Inexperience. And then we floated on down the river and went through all that. Still a headwind. No matter which way we turned, there was a headwind. I mean, we turn south, there's a
Yep.
headwind. Go east, there's a headwind. Turn back north, there's a headwind. And it was just such a struggle. Lightning, got dark, lightning all the way around us. Everywhere you look, there was just lightning and heavy winds at that point.
Yep.
And so, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know, you want to?
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, yeah. And so fast forward,
Yeah.
we paddle all night long. And while we never got rained on, there was like 6 to 7 inches of water dumped in the watershed
Right.
north of the river.
Right.
And the river rose 10 feet. And then it was dumping big debris and a whole bunch of stuff in the water. And the
splashing water into boats.
Yep. Capsizing people.
Uh-huh.
And so about, 10 o'clock the next day, it said, due to existing and predicted river and weather conditions, the 2023 Missouri American Water MR340 is ending now. And then it said basically the next stop is your final stop. Get out of the river, and that's it. It's over.
Yeah, it was a bummer of a text.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so before we start jumping into some of the real detailed questions about how we got ready for the race and everything like that, you know, if I just want to maybe talk about what that ride home was like after we pulled out halfway through the race, you know, kind of got the boat loaded up on the truck, heading home. How'd you feel?
It was extremely disappointing because you spend a lot of time and effort and planning and training physically, mentally. You know, we went to Smithville and went through all that chop.
Yep.
Multiple times to get ready for rough water. And so you put yourself through a lot and spend a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And your family does too, you know. You invest a lot of time, a lot of effort, and then you're sore too.
Yeah.
So you don't even have a sense of accomplishment to deal with your soreness and all that. So it was disappointing.
Yeah, you got to kind of lick your wounds and literally sit in your own stink for the whole ride home, and you know,
and that being a kind of a bucket list thing for us. It's not something that we normally planned on doing. Knowing, like in the back of your mind, as soon as we got that text in the back of my mind, I knew I had to do it again the next year.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because that's where I think this episode gets real interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in 2024, this last August, we were successful.
Yes.
And so it was, you know, the conclusion of a 3.5 year goal that we set as a team.
Yeah.
And so let's walk through that now. And let's actually go back to the first time you and I talked about it. Where were we? I think it was in a gym.
Yeah, we were in Barker Center.
Yep. And well,
I had known about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2022, it was all over my YouTube feed. I'm not sure why, but I kept seeing it, and then I kind of kept track of it while it was happening, and I just got really excited to do it. I wanted to do it, and so we were at a basketball game, Barker Center, and just happened to mention it to you, and you were all over it. So
I had been thinking about it myself for a while. There was a couple of people that I worked with who had done it, and I was like, those guys are freaking idiots. and then I looked it up, and I'm thinking, man, maybe I want to be an idiot too.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just on the edge of crazy. And the other day I was chatting with Jesse Gillum, actually, and he and I did 25 miles on the Crooked River,
right,
at flood stage.
Yeah.
And that
That's
was
kinda
not,
crazy.
that was not, yeah, that was not safe. But if at the same time, it's like, that's what adventure is.
Yeah.
You kind of take yourself right to that point of, is this stupid? I know I'm going to suffer. I know
Mhm.
this is going to be a painful ordeal, but what if? What if I am successful? What if I endure it? What if I win? And then I don't know, is that glory on the other end? Like what's that what's that satisfaction? Is
In
it the
in
dopamine shot?
internal. I mean,
Yeah.
it's something to be proud of,
Yeah.
you know? Definitely. I don't think it's really glory. I haven't received any glory
Yeah.
from anybody because I've
Yeah.
done that.
It's like this just chasing it, right?
Yeah.
Killing the dragon. Just
Personal glory.
yeah, just
Uh-huh.
having a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then 12/31/2022, after those conversations,
Uh-huh.
we're sitting at the New Year's Eve table. The registration opens the next day, and you're like, "Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it." Signed up the next day. What was our team name?
The Rooks.
Yeah,
Rookies.
Rookies. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
5150.
yeah, and you actually named this 5150. Why?
boat name.
Yeah, why is the boat name? Why was the boat name 5150?
Just nostalgia. The Van Halen album.
Okay.
It
Yep.
was a good album when I was in high school. It was a great album. Not good. It was a great album.
Yeah. Yeah. And not as familiar with it as you were. That became one of my playlist albums. So I started working out to that song. So
Yeah.
anytime I'd go work out, I'd just hit play.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with it. And it is a great driving music. It's great to just work out to. It's good to get a pump and go.
Realistically, they said that you had to have a 4-digit, or 4 numbers. So that's about the only thing I could think of at the time. It just so happened it was a great album. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. But you can't just do it with a ambition alone and a good name. You got to have a boat.
Mm-hmm.
And so we bought a boat, and that was an interesting process. So those of you who are considering this, or you want to know maybe how significant of a purchase the boat is, it's a monumental piece of the success for the race. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's success or fail, depending on what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So originally we were going to try to do it in an aluminum canoe, and people do it. They're successful in that, but not giving ourselves every advantage. We thought maybe an aluminum canoe would be more than we bargained for here. So we found another boat online. It was a Jensen Winona mixer, like a more or less a racing canoe. Picked up on Craigslist, met through Carl Collier, the guy we bought it from.
Yeah.
And he was a wealth of information too.
He was awesome.
Yep. Helped us understand how we should be training. Talked us through food, clothes, route planning, technology, navigation, or health, equipment, like race updates. I mean, he really walked us through the whole thing. But you had been familiar with that up to this point, and actually that'd be something maybe to discuss. Maybe a point of separation here. I feel like you were the brains of our operation, and I was more like the color man, comic relief.
The color commentator.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, you were like John Madden, and I was like,
Pat Summerall.
okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking, remember when Dennis
Leary.
Dennis Leary was,
Yeah, I know.
was that Dennis Leary? Dennis Miller.
Dennis Miller.
Yeah. When Dennis Miller was on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, it was like,
Yeah.
he didn't last a season, but he was so funny.
Yeah, he was good.
Oh, it was awesome.
I don't know. I take those things, and I mean, we both did everything. I just kind of enjoy that and obsess about it sometimes, probably too much.
Yeah.
Thinking about what to do and how to do it.
Yeah. So, but I think in your obsession and in your, I told Carissa, you have kind of like a quiet confidence in your leadership. You don't really ever dictate. You just say, "Hey, I was thinking about this. What do you thinking?" And then I would offer some, I don't know, half thought feedback, and then you'd be like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then 2 or 3 days later, you're like, "I was thinking about that, and I feel like maybe what do you think about doing this?" And it was like the same thing you had suggested a couple of days before, and I'm like, "Yeah, I think that'll work."
We were a good team as far as bouncing stuff off of one another.
Yeah.
complemented each other well.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. Let's talk a little bit about training in that boat. And you mentioned the time at Smithville.
Yeah.
So, and there's a couple of things here too that I want to make sure we cover. The first year when we did it, we did a race called the Shootout,
Yes.
which is 51 miles from Caw Point, which is like the Wheeler Airport, downtown Kansas City, to Lexington.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time we did that, 51 miles in a boat, it was a headwind, very similar to the 2023 race.
It was rough.
It was rough. And I remember telling you that if we had to continue on with the race in those conditions, I would have failed you. And as a partner, my training ramped up exponentially from that fateful day in June to August when we tried it, and then the next year, ultimately when we were successful. So how did the training on the Shootout, and then ultimately the training at Smithville and some of these other experiences we had prepare us?
Yeah, that Shootout was an eye opener for sure. I mean, it really was. It was, you realize you're not just out for a trip down to Niangua with your buddies. I
Yep.
mean, it was work. And so I think that I didn't know anybody, and I'm not saying that we revolutionized anything but I think that the trips to Smithville, I don't know for any of the listeners if they've been on a small craft at Smithville Lake around all those big boats, and if you have a wind, there's a lot of waves, and it's difficult to paddle. You know, we paddled almost the entirety of that lake.
Yep.
6 hours on a few of them.
Yep.
And so
3-foot rollers trying to come in the boat
and have to turn, zigzagging through it, trying to figure out what the best way to approach the waves were. So it I think that was an eye opener, the Shootout, and then we got a little bit more experience, got a little bit more serious, and if anything, just getting ourselves a little bit more calloused mentally for those conditions.
Yep.
Because I don't know if a person can train. I mean, unless you're trying to win it, I don't know if a person can train physically enough for that.
Right. Right.
I mean, there's just a point where you have to say, well, I'm fit as I'm gonna be. Is that the rest of it's gonna have to just be mental?
It's mental.
Pick it up.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm sure I didn't coin the phrase, but there was a point where I just started using the term embrace the suck.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just gotta just embrace it. It's going to suck.
Yeah.
We're right in the middle of it. And that's going to be what it is.
I mean, how do you train yourself to sit in a narrow seat for 62 hours?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I can, yeah, it sounds, it's torturous.
62 hours straight.
Yep. That sounds like torture.
Yeah. So I don't know how you train for that, but it's other than mentally just knowing that it's going to be terrible.
Right. So let's unpack that a little bit. To train to be in the optimal condition, right? We were in the boat. We were spending time in the boat. You were working on yourself outside of the exercises that we were doing together. Yeah. And for as far as the third chair is concerned, you all would know I would work out. We would do these training runs in the boat, and then we'd come home and I'd be all tired and I'd move on with my Saturday, and then I'd call Stuart later in the day and he had gone for a run that afternoon on top, right? So this is the type of kind of glutton for punishment you were in that whole process. But something else, how did you approach all of the various disciplines, right? You had, you were calculating calories, what you were eating, various other elements that help keep you going as more than just what your body's physical abilities could do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I knew since this was a bucket list thing, I knew we weren't going to do it beyond, we were going to be one and done, hopefully. I didn't want to, I didn't want to neglect everything else that I did. So I was maintaining that. And I think a lot of that, as far as how many calories, transition, you eat a lot when you do triathlons.
Yeah.
The longer ones, you eat a lot while you're out there doing it, while you're in the race. So I just used a lot of that. Is that what you're meaning? I
Yeah.
used a lot of that knowledge
Yeah.
and translated it into what we were doing. And
Yeah. I mean, you were teaching me the entire way. I mean, it was
it was
how many calories per hour are you putting salt in your water?
mm-hmm.
And, it's important to have salt in your water because you're sweating some of that stuff out. And if you're not eating all the time, then you're going to naturally deplete your body's, whatever you call them glycogen stores or something like
Yes.
that. And then you bunk
Yeah.
when, if you had just been systematically eating.
Yeah.
And you also have a unique perspective when it comes to consuming things. You don't look at food as food. What do you call it?
It's fuel.
Fuel.
Yeah.
Yep. You also did you use medicine too? Did you say it was medicine?
Oh yeah, sure, of course. It's survival. The minerals that you get out of certain foods. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's that's an interesting. They say that fueling and eating is the fourth discipline of triathlon,
Really?
and it's just as important as the other three.
So it's swimming, biking,
Yep.
running,
Swim, bike, run, fuel.
fuel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You take in 300 to 400 calories an hour while you're doing that.
Yep.
And just training yourself to eat while you're exerting physical, your physical energy, exerting all that energy, then it's difficult to do. I found that it was hard in the boat.
Yeah.
I did not eat what I wanted to eat. I was struggling to put it in my mouth. I don't know if it was the heat, if it was or what was going on, but it didn't. I thought that was a myth when I listened to some of the other podcasts about it on YouTube. I was just like, I've never had problems eating. I like to eat,
Right.
but I didn't want to eat when I was on the river.
Yeah. It's difficult to eat the same things. So you want to have things that you like to eat, but then when you're not hungry,
Yeah.
and you're just sitting there embracing the suck for 10, 12-hour, 15-hour runs.
And the more time you take your paddle out of the water,
the slower you go.
the more time you're going to be on the water.
Yeah.
So it's counterintuitive to stop paddling to put something in you that you don't even want.
Yeah.
There to begin with.
Yeah. But it's important, and I think that speaks to some of the mental disciplines of the race.
Yes, it is absolutely kind of unforeseen mental discipline that you need to have.
Right.
Figure out what is palatable.
Right. Okay, so we've talked boat, we talked fuel, we've talked training and preparation.
Mm-hmm.
How did you navigate the river?
A different a phone, GPS. They have an app, Race Owl.
Yep.
And you can set your phone and put it in a watertight container with a visible top or something, whatever. You can buy them, make them, whatever. Set it between your legs, and then it has a GPS navigation system, and it's pinpoint too. It is very accurate.
And what are you navigating on the river?
The channel.
Okay.
So, and then the GPS also shows all the wing dikes. And for people who don't know what that is, it's the rocky outcropping that channels the water, pushes the water into the deepest part of the river, and that is also the fastest water. And you need all the help you can get. Getting that faster water. The Missouri River does not flow fast.
No.
And so...
but the difference between 4 miles an hour floating and 3 miles an hour floating is...
over 340 miles. It's an enormous amount. Yes,
it sure is.
Huge.
Yep.
It is very huge. So it has a line where the channel is, and you just kind of glance down at it once in a while and do what you do, staying in that channel. And then at night, when you can't see anything, even though there's a full moon, it will hide behind the clouds. I would it'd be really difficult to navigate that just without GPS
Yeah.
or a bright moon.
Yep.
That would be scary to do, but
Right.
yeah,
Which is why they organize the race like
Right.
that, right? Yeah.
Right.
So they do it around the moonlight and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
But even then
visibility.
we struggled because the moon was kind of slow coming up that first
It
night.
was. It didn't come up to like midnight or
Mhm.
something like that. That's right. So yeah, you could literally navigate the Missouri River with this app. I've done it enough that I'd feel comfortable doing it if you couldn't see anything, just by looking at, as long as you had a signal, you could navigate it.
Yeah.
So I would feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah. Let's talk now. We've gotten through it, had a successfully unsuccessful attempt in 23.
Yes.
24 rolls around. Let's go start to finish. Caw Point to St. Charles. We, after my personal blunder of leaving my water jug at the house,
Which didn't cost us any
no,
time.
it didn't. It didn't. No, Stuart shows up at the house, and we're gonna run down to Caw Point to get our stuff, get our boat in the water, and go. And we get to Kearney, which is about 15 minutes from the house, and I realized I had left my 2 water containers in the basement refrigerator. And so we have to turn around and go back. And so you're trying to like keep your calm and nerves and everything. And I went from 0 to about 90 miles an hour on I-35 trying to get back home and grab the water fast.
Well, there was water. That's probably the most important thing about, the hydration.
Yeah.
And then we had the tubes. I don't know if anybody has seen these, but we had tubes from the containers to, up around your mouth, hooked to your personal flotation device. And so it's made to where you can paddle and drink at the same time. So
Yep.
it's all custom, personal, and
you can't just stop at the grocery store on the way down and grab some water. You gotta have it all.
Yeah.
So we get there and we check in the day before, come, get the boat all set up. We get down there, I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but you think it's easy. You put the boat in the water several times. How difficult is it to navigate getting your boat launched with 500 other boats?
Very. And it was hot. I was so hot standing there, and it was early in the morning.
Yep.
In the morning, and there's people around, and they're nervous, and you're nervous, and there's people making a lot of noise. You get anxious. People are banging into you, into your boat, and then you're just getting in. You're nervous about dumping it right there because I've seen it.
Yep. Dumping it falling out of the boat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tipping the boat over. And so, yeah, it's, and then you have to kind of navigate upstream and wait for the gun to go off. And it's pretty tense, really.
Yeah, it is. And then you're already psyched up because, it's going to be a really long day.
Yeah.
And, but fast forward, successfully out the gate, the tandem boats go an hour after the solo boats go.
Yeah.
So that's 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock.
8.
8 o'clock.
They left at 7.
Yep.
We left at 8.
So, so 8 o'clock rolls around. We make it down the river and we settle in for about 24 hours of, actually a little bit longer than that, of sleep deprivation. We're not going to sleep for 24 to 36 hours. We stopped one time in that process at Waverly. Is that right?
Yes, at Waverly.
Yep. So you go from Caw Point to Waverly, which is 74 miles. We stopped, met our ground crew, ate a cheeseburger.
Which is also about 10 and a half hours.
Yep.
10 and a half, 11 hours of just paddling.
Straight rocking. Yep. Yeah. Took about 45 minutes out of the boat.
Yeah.
In Waverly.
Yeah. Not any more than that. Just to stretch your legs and, I think it's a great place. I think you need to stop there personally and try to eat.
Yep.
And just because hindsight being 2020, that's what I would do. And my plan next time would be just gorge.
Yeah. Eat a bunch.
You got to stay up on that.
Yeah.
You're not going to eat later. So
yeah. Okay. So, and again, you heard it right. third chair. We were in the boat from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. to get to Waverly. We were out of the boat for 45 minutes. We ate for most of that time, talked to the girls, got caught up, and back in the boat again until Glasgow the following morning at 5-ish.
Yeah.
5 a.m. And no sleep, just literally paddling all night.
Got some breakfast.
Got some breakfast. Stopped there for about an hour. And then back in the boat again until Boonville. We got out at Franklin Island. And that was the first time we chose to sleep.
Going to try to get a nap there. And that was, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that?
Yep. And I think this is the time to talk about the attitude adjustment that I needed.
We all had it though.
Stuart tuned me up, and it was good. It was good. You did it in the best way possible. But I think we've done a pretty fair job talking about the difficulties of navigating 36 hours in the boat, in there, despite all the training, despite all the preparations. We were ready.
Yeah.
When you are paddling in changing river currents and it's 95 degrees,
yes,
and the sun is beating down on you,
yes,
and there are barges and boats and whatnot, and I started complaining personally. I'm the hood ornament. I'm supposed to be in the front of the boat, and all I do is just have a good attitude and keep paddling, and so he can do all the real hard work in the back. I start complaining. And then we try to land the boat. It was successful, but it was stressful.
It was a little.
And over the course of my complaining, and then by the time we got the boat done in there, I could tell Stuart wasn't right. And so I said, "Hey man, are you okay?" And I think if I was worried about him punching me when I called him stewardess, I was really worried about getting punched in the face right there, and I realized I had screwed up. But you, what did you say? What did you say? And it was that's what I say. You handled it so perfectly.
I don't really remember.
You said that you're not the only one who's out there working hard.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just felt like I got kicked in the nuts.
It is tough. And we all had our breakdowns. There was times, and I don't know, some people internalize it, some people externalize it. Some people need to let it out.
Yep.
It's like like steam, and some people have to let it out.
Yep.
Sometimes I choose not to. Maybe it's not always the best, but I did have after we left Franklin Island. So that area around Franklin Island is doomed. It must be that time.
Yeah. Well, no sleep.
Yeah.
It's hot right in the middle of the day.
And I couldn't sleep.
You didn't sleep.
I didn't sleep. So I couldn't sleep. And my attitude was bad right after Franklin Island. We got to heading south and went underneath that the Missouri River Bridge at I-70 before you get to Columbia. And I just remember it being so hot. I wanted to just roll out of the boat. I had just about had enough. I was about to the point where I couldn't deal with it. It was so hot. And you're wearing, your life jacket, and you're wearing long sleeve shirts to keep the sun off of you. You're wearing long pants of some sort to keep the sun off of you. You got shoes on to keep sun off your feet because you'll get burnt. And then a big bucket hat. So you're dressed. And you're dressed heavy, for that sort of thing.
Yeah, this ain't a day at the beach, folks.
It is not a day at the beach. You're not in your Speedos, hanging out on the beach. You're fully dressed and it's hot.
Oh yeah.
And so I kept dipping my hat into the water and dumping it on me and trying to paddle at the same time. And it was just a tough area.
Yeah, completely agree. And that just as the math goes, as the distance and mileage goes, that's only about halfway there.
Yeah.
And
we were both
smoked.
Close to a breaking point.
Yeah. And I was able to get a couple hours sleep in the truck at Franklin Island. And so naturally I get back in the boat And I was gonna say, I break down, not actually crying, but like, I'm like, Stuart, I'm so sorry. And I was like, I didn't mean to, and you kind of work through it and whatnot. And you're stronger as a team as a result of that sort of stuff. You realize where you need to be tuned up. And that's where I think personally, I sit here across the table and think, that's where you grow.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that, in that moment, I grew more in that 30 minutes of adversity and challenge and confrontation and then ultimately reconciliation. I think that moves to redemption,
Sure.
right? I mean, we're
and
different people as a result.
And it's also a testament of our friendship because think about all the trips to Smithville and to other lakes and loading the boat and unloading the boat and coordinating schedules and doing all that kind of stuff. And then going through 2023, the MR 170, as we like to call it. And then going through the 2024. And so, like you said, it was 3.5 years of, there was a grind. It was something we put our minds to, and we had to do it together because we were a team.
Right.
And then to come out on the other side still the same, unchanged, great friends that, it's just a testament to our friendship and all that. So
yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
So we're going into the second night. I've slept 2 hours. You have slept 0 hours. And, I mean, if you're starting to realize how long of a race this is, folks, try to stay up that long. And the entire time you're paddling, I mean, I think we did the math. It was something like 20,000 strokes.
Oh yeah.
No. It was like 74,000.
Yeah, it was way, way high.
Yep. It was like 20,000 strokes a day, I think is what we worked it out to. And, there's just, you're out of gas, you're out of energy. The sun is hot.
Yeah.
And you're in this boat that's 15 inches wide and you're really questioning yourself at that point.
And everything else.
Yeah. 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 It's not
You're questioning reality at that point.
Yeah.
Are we in the Matrix?
Yeah. Yeah. So, let's fast forward then. We make it through the second night. We stopped in Jefferson City.
Yeah, but we got to talk about our friend that we picked up along the way.
Oh yeah, please.
I don't remember her name, but I think about her. So for anybody who wants to try it, this lady, she was a shorter, older. I would say I would put her at late 50s, maybe 60.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd have said 65. So yeah.
I'm going to try to make this gentle, but she was not shaped like an athlete.
Yeah.
At all.
Yep.
And she was a trooper. She had a great attitude and she wanted to paddle with us because it was dark and she didn't want to be out there by herself. She was in a kayak. But the funniest part of that this is where Chris really shines. So we started playing a word game, which was fine. That's when you're really tired, I guess. You can play that for about 2 minutes, and then it might kind of start getting a little monotonous. But he was good at keeping us talking and thinking about other things. But he got this lady. He said, "Who's your favorite singer?" And she goes, "I don't know, probably Bruce Springsteen." And he got her to sing Springsteen songs on the river.
Oh, yeah.
A 60-year-old lady was singing Bruce Springsteen. I don't even remember the songs. I don't think it was Born in the USA, but she was
like 2 a.m.
And she was belting it too.
Oh,
she wasn't holding back.
Crushing it.
It was awesome. And she was so much fun to have around. So yeah, she was great. And she told us a lot about the race. She had done it like 8 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she was great to have around. Great, very inspiring for us. And she went into Jeff City with us, and then afterwards. So
yeah.
But I had to bring that up. That was so much fun.
She was awesome. She was awesome. Yeah. Okay. So made it into Jeff City. Take one big run then from Jeff City to this was all through the night into Herman.
Yeah.
And then we stopped at Herman for maybe couple of hours there. You got a little bit of sleep there. I got a little bit of sleep there. Then we went to Washington, Missouri, and we stopped there for maybe an hour or two. And once we left Washington, we were pushing on.
That was the last leg.
Yep. And I mean, it's at this point, you know, we'd been in the boat 45 hours or so, and out of the boat 3 of those hours, and you know, we're then trying to see what the end of the race looks like, and we start calculating when we'd make it. Realized we could probably do it before midnight, and that was motivation. And then we just finished strong. So you want to tell about that last leg?
Well, I want to go back to when we stopped the lady that we were with. She and another guy that we had picked up we stopped at Chamois.
Oh, right.
And they talked about heavy fog, and we had run into some heavy fog at Glasgow, or relatively. But it was navigable.
Yeah. Navigable.
And so we had a little bit of experience with it, but they warn you to get off the river if there's fog, because you can't see the barges, and sometimes you can't see the wing dikes, and you could end up in trouble. But so in the middle of the night, they got a little nervous, the people we were with, and they wanted to stop and get some rest at Chamois and wait for the fog to clear in the morning. That would have taken about 5 or 6 hours, probably, added to our time if we would have stopped. We made the decision, which it worked out. It may not have been the right decision based on the lack of sleep, but we made the decision to push on to Herman. There was a lot of fog, and the worst of it was obviously right around like 30, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour before daybreak.
Yep.
You could start to kind of see things, but then that's when the fog got really thick. I could barely see Chris. I mean, it was rough, and I was going totally off the navigation that I had, which I trusted, but still, they don't show barges.
Yep.
You could have run right into a structure
and
not even known it was coming. It was interesting, and just to tell you how it was, there was a lady that came up behind us, and she made this exasperated noise. She was like so happy to see other people and hear other people, and she had sworn that she saw a truck on the river. She goes, I just saw brake lights. I know it was brake lights. I saw a truck on the river. And so they warn you when you do a lot of research about this, about the hallucinations.
That's right.
And the from lack of sleep and being on the river in the heat and lack of nutrition, and all of the river monsters that you see, the shapes of the trees in the dark and all that kind of stuff. So you kind of know it's coming. And it's what she had experienced. Well, she got me confused on what was going on. We turned to see what she was doing, and I steered the boat like to a 180 somehow. And I have to this day, I have no idea how I got it turned around like that. And then she blew past us. She didn't want to stick around us or whatever the deal was.
Yeah, she was gone.
And she asked me why I was going the wrong way. And then I was totally confused.
Yep.
Somehow we got it righted. Started going back down the river. But as daylight started happening, and the fog was so thick that the fog was shimmering in front of the sun. And it was just like making all these weird shapes and just...
Yeah, and sleep deprivation.
It was all over. It was on top of you.
Yeah.
And it was the hallucinations at that point were, I don't know if they were hallucinations or trick,
Yeah.
Your eyes were playing tricks on us.
I had the same thought too. And the only way I could explain it is it was like staring at sitting in an entirely white room, white floor, white walls, white ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
and you can't see the corners of the room. It's
Yeah.
literally like the
Yeah.
entire area around you is like a screen or a
Yeah.
projector. And then because you're so tired, your mind can just put any picture on that screen
Yes.
that's in front of you. And so that lady happened to see a car.
Yeah.
At one point I thought I saw a urban basketball scene with it was entirely graffiti, like
Yeah.
multicolored. And if I would have before the race, before any of these things, I thought the people who said they hallucinated it or, their minds played tricked on them. I thought they were full of crap.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you, it's real.
It is. It was like I was on the only way I can describe it is like I was on the inside of it, like a Christmas tree and the old tinsel that we used to use on Christmas
Yeah.
trees,
Yeah.
that it was like just shimmering. And I'm just looking out in it. And this tinsel's just, because there was something metallic about the fog with the sun hitting it.
Yeah.
It looked metallic, like it was melting.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I just had to put my head down, stare straight at the phone that had the navigation on it, and just tell myself that I wasn't seeing things
Yeah.
and that just follow that. It's going to go away. And then after about an hour or so, we got to Herman.
Yep. Well,
and
and
rested.
then too, just for the sake of those who are maybe drawing some inspiration from this, that probably wasn't the right decision. And in the fog of war, you're never sure that you make the right call. And
Mhm.
those of you who've done the MR 340 race and you talk about going out in the fog or not going out in the fog, this was a new one for us. We would not advise it. We would not recommend it. But, in, like I said, learning and going through this and just kind of documenting what we've done, that was how it went. And so we wanted to just be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to anybody.
Nope. So, so we made it to Washington and slept for another couple of hours. And then that was the first time you slept at all.
Right.
And so I slept for about an hour there. You
Mhm.
slept for 2.
Yeah.
And then we pushed on.
Yeah.
The river gets real wide down there at the end. And so you start feeling slow. You kind of hit Klondike and then the river gets real wide and you've then now spread out so far from everybody else that you're not seeing a lot of other boats and you
Right.
feel like you're out there alone.
Mm-hmm.
And, that starts to play on you. And then you realize you're 5-6 hours away from being done.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at the analytics from our race and we were going 6, 7, 8 miles an hour
Yeah.
the first day. And then we got down into the 5s.
Yeah.
And then we got 6 hours, 7 hours from the finish line and we jumped back up into the 6s and those low 7s
Yeah.
just because we were ready to get home.
Right. Well, and you get that added inspiration when the weather looks good, when the forecast is good, there's no rain, there's no wind.
Yep.
You're on your last leg. Then it was fun again,
Yeah.
at the end of that.
Yeah.
So,
I'll let you tell us what it was like coming home, seeing that bridge, then seeing that siren and light, hearing the crowd cheers. We're
yeah, it was
paddling in.
It was great. I don't know if I would say it was like overly emotional, but you could definitely feel it. You're a little emotional, I suppose,
Yeah.
relief and everything else. When you get like night paddling is beautiful. Everybody should safely try that. It's very calming and beautiful. And then also like when you're in a city with all the bridges and the buildings and the old power plants and steam plants and all that stuff that you see from the river, that you don't get that perspective anywhere else. So
It's beautiful.
it is so great. And St. Louis has they had a lot of nice buildings right on the river.
They did.
Some of them are older and redone and actual in use steam plants,
Yep.
maybe.
Power plants.
And as it got wider there, the scenery was just amazing. So as we got to the end and knew it was coming, it was just awesome. It was great. Just the wonder of the world and just taking all that in and knowing that you were done and knowing that you have accomplished something like that after all these years. all the 3 years, 3.5 years, and with a great friend and all that kind of stuff. And your wives are at the ramp. So it was, um, I'm not going to say that it was life changing,
Sure.
but it was close. Probably it was
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
I'll never forget that feeling.
Momentous.
Yeah.
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 And a just sense of accomplishment and satisfaction and
Yeah.
so many great memories. I think
Absolutely.
we were trying to do the boat math, which is always difficult. and I think you had calculated we had been in that boat together for over 1,000 miles.
Yeah, over 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
And it was just quick math, but yeah, definitely over 1,000 miles from training and yeah, and the races. And yeah, I hated to see that picture of when you let her go,
Yep.
So
Yep.
spent a lot of time in that boat.
Yep. We sure did.
Saw a lot of great lakes around here.
Yep.
Shawnee Mission Lake.
Mm-hmm. Smithville, Watkins Mill, Lawson City Lake. Yep. All right. Would you do it again?
Yes.
You're going to do the race again?
I don't know if I will do it. I would.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah. It's an investment in time, money, and everything else. So
that's true.
From start to scratch. So since I've done it, maybe I don't know if I'll ever do it again. I would like to try it with like somebody else, and then maybe not somebody else other than you. That's not what I was meaning.
Fine. I would probably want to do it with somebody else too.
I just meant I would like to try it in a kayak, like a fast kayak, not spend as much time in the race, but do it with someone.
Yeah.
And they're in the same kind of kayak, and and you. I think that would be a different element to do it that way.
Yep.
If you're having a hard time dealing with something, if it's hot or something like that, you can just kind of get away. Smack the water, do whatever you need to do, have a little temper tantrum, collect yourself, and then get back with your partner. So it's, I would do it again. I enjoyed it.
That's
Looking
awesome.
back at it, I would definitely. You?
I don't know. Right now, my challenges are kind of taking me into other avenues, right? I feel like to me it was a one and done.
Yeah.
If one of my kids decided they wanted to do it, I feel like I could probably help them along to success and maybe even be in the boat for that. But nobody's really demonstrated their interest up to this point. And I'm not trying to help them.
Yeah.
So if you were to try to inspire somebody else who's thinking about doing this, what would you tell them?
Well, I'm sure a lot of parents can relate to this. When your children are young and when they're at certain ages, they pretty much depend on you for their survival, and you live your life 100% almost for them. But then they reach that age to where they're somewhat self-sufficient. And that's kind of what my journey was, and why I jumped into that and other challenges was because, you hit a certain age to where you can still do these things. There are adventures out there. The world is full of adventures. And when my kids got to the age where they were a little bit self-sufficient, I've always wanted to do the adventures, but my priority was family and kids. And when I got to that point, I needed to do some things for myself and challenge myself and bring myself along. And I think that the MR340 is a great one because you don't have to it's not necessarily cardio. You don't really have to be in that great a shape cardio with your cardio. It helps, I'd say.
Sure.
But, if you can stand to sit and just keep your arms moving for 65 hours and go without some sleep, it's a once in a lifetime thing. And we need those challenges. We need those adventures to live. And, I fully believe that.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself.
So,
I mean, to really, to encourage the person to go do it. I mean, you're going to learn a lot about yourself. If you go with a partner, you're going to learn a lot about your partner. And
you're going to learn a lot about yourself and how you deal with relationships.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot to it.
Yep. And you'll grow a lot. And And two, there's an awesome community out there
Yes.
who are interested in helping you through it. So, you know, and count me and Stuart in that mix. If anybody in the show is listening and wants to try the MR340 and you want to reach out, please do.
Yeah.
Son
absolutely.
of the Law podcast at gmail.com. All right, Stuart, anything else before we wrap up today?
No, I don't think so. It's been a good conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you coming in, friendship, partnership in this particular effort, but then moving on to the next thing.
Absolutely.
So, all right, everybody. Thank you very much. This has been the Son of the Law podcast. Have a great day.